I don't know what to do, guys, because right now, I'm trying to think of a way to explain the emotions that are currently inside of me. Just yesterday, I woke up only to see that someone had slided divorce papers under my door. Do you know the kind of reaction I had? I had been so shocked that I almost fainted right there and then. How could someone just slide divorce papers under someone's door? I know some of you might be wondering how that is possible. Well, the divorce papers didn't just fall from the sky. It was sent by someone, and I'm 100% sure that I know who that is. My husband is the one who sent the divorce papers because I can clearly see that his name is written on it. I don't know where to start from, guys, because this is deeper than my words can ever convey. There's actually more to what led to this divorce. That's what I believe, and that's why I'm still currently trying to figure everything out. I don't know what suddenly happened that could have been so drastic that my husband would try to divorce me without my knowledge. If we had a prior argument to this, then it would have made sense, but there's absolutely nothing that happened that could have pointed to a divorce. It's sudden and not normal, and I'm struggling to understand what's going on. My name is Erica, and I'm a 29-year-old management analyst from North Carolina. I'm married to Felix, a 30-year-old nurse from North Carolina. Felix and I were supposed to celebrate our 1-year anniversary 1 month ago, but we couldn't because Felix's mother became very sick and he had to rush home to take care of her. I offered to go too, but Felix advised that I stayed back home since I had to go to work almost every day. Even though that was the excuse he gave, I know that he was just trying to indirectly tell me no to waste my time. You see, my marriage to Felix is kind of what one would call a forbidden marriage. Felix and I initially wanted to elope to get married because both our families were not interested in us getting married. Our parents despise each other, and it's actually because of a family feud that has gone on for over 10 years. Felix and I are actually neighbors, or rather we were neighbors. We used to live in the same neighborhood with our families. I was 19 years old when the first rivalry between our families began, and Felix was just 20 years old. I think the fight was over a driveway or piece of land. Or was it a parking spot? I don't remember, but I know that our parents despised each other after that. I never even looked at him twice because I thought I was being loyal to my family. Even though we attended the same college, I just tried my best to stay away from him. Who would have ever imagined that both their children would end up getting married one day? I didn't imagine it, and our parents certainly didn't imagine it either. It was just something that happened out of the ordinary. It was over 3 years ago when I met him at my internship in Los Angeles. Both of us were away from home, and we coincidentally had our internship in the same state even though it was not in the same company. We ran into each other one day, and that's when the drama began. Long story short, we had an affair and I actually got pregnant. I'm not even joking or trying to play smart. We didn't talk at first because we wanted to keep up with our family feud, but that didn't work for long. If you find yourself in a foreign environment and you're trying to adapt to the changes, it's only going to help you if you find your neighbor and college student. I was glad to see someone I knew, and the fact that we were neighbors just made it better. We started talking, and then we became friends. We started dating 3 months later, and that was it. 1 year later, I got pregnant. I'm not proud of it, and I'm still regretting it till this day. I don't regret getting pregnant with my child. I just regret getting pregnant without marrying him first. That made my parents very angry. When I first told them I was pregnant, they flared up. But guys, their reaction when they realized that Felix was the one responsible was the worst. It was a very bad situation, and both our families gave us a hard time. My mother insisted that Felix had to marry me no matter what. We loved each other and knew it was going to get to that, but we wanted to do so in our own time. My parents didn't accept that at all. They made it clear that if we couldn't wait before getting intimate, we had to rush into marriage too. I insisted that I gave birth to my child before getting married, and my parents accepted. After giving birth to my daughter, Felix's mother decided to become a thorn in my flesh. That woman brought up 1,000 reasons why I shouldn't marry her son. In fact, she called me a loose woman for getting pregnant out of wedlock. I don't understand. Is Felix not lost for impregnating a woman out of wedlock too? But no, her double standards just had to be involved in everything. She was so stuck up that she refused to come see me even after I gave birth. It was only her husband and daughter that had the courtesy to come see me. I was very shocked. My parents made sure that Felix and I got married within less than 1 month after I gave birth to my daughter, Eloise. I didn't have a problem with getting married by that time. Felix and I moved to Arizona after getting married because we needed to get away from the toxicity our parents were bringing into our marriage. Every gathering turned into a quarrel or fight and someone had to go home angry. Even our wedding reception was not spared, so we had to leave. The fact that we watched our parents insult each other made it hard for us to have a good marriage because it was affecting our relationship. Eloise was still a very little child and she was barely 2 months old when we moved here. I had to get my job transfer and Felix's uncle helped him with it. I earn a good amount of money monthly and so does Felix. We had enough money to buy a house in Arizona after spending 2 weeks in a hotel. I didn't take a break from work even though I'm still taking care of my child, Eloise. Even while she was still 3 months old, I either took her to work or I hired a nanny. My mom is one of the people that advised me not to stop working after marriage even though it was temporary. She still feared the possibility of Felix suddenly leaving me and she never fully trusted his intentions about me. I don't blame them because I can see the results now. My husband just suddenly slipped divorce papers under the door after not seeing me for 1 whole month. I don't even know what's going through his head right now. Felix didn't have a problem with me staying home to work because he also believed that I had a right to water my career since we didn't really plan to settle down as fast as we did. For the first 6 months of our marriage, Felix and I didn't have any problems because we were away from our parents and their feud. Life was good and our daughter made it better. Eloise is literally the exact photocopy of me. We look alike a lot and she has every facial feature I have. My mom actually knelt down and gave God thanks when I sent her my daughter's 6 months picture. She was thankful that her grandchild looked nothing like the family she despised. But, the problems between Felix and I started from that moment onward. It was very difficult to understand why we suddenly had to go through that. I don't even know how to explain what suddenly happened between us. We began to disagree a lot and I could tell that we had more disagreements than agreements. 2 months after Eloise turned 6 months, Felix and I sat down and decided to iron out our issues. We talked it through and promised each other not to let petty things ruin our marriage. That worked and we stopped having issues. We only had normal couple disagreements that only lasted 5 minutes. That was all there was to it. Our anniversary was 1 month ago and we were fine before then. There were no issues and we were even planning a very grand party to celebrate it together. That's why I don't understand why I was suddenly served divorce papers out of nowhere. I don't know why this suddenly happened and it's taking a lot of patience for me not to suddenly get angry. I don't get why Felix thinks it's right to do this to me. Just 3 days to our anniversary, he got a call from his sister and she was crying on the phone. We got to know that his mother had been hospitalized and it was for a very serious illness. At first I didn't understand why it suddenly had to happen when we're waiting to celebrate our anniversary, but I felt guilty for feeling that way and I told myself that there was no way she could control her own body. Felix left the very next day and insisted that I stayed in Arizona with Eloise. I planned on following him and using the opportunity to visit my own parents and show them their granddaughter, but since Felix wasn't in support, I decided to forget about it and just stay back. I didn't expect the trip to last for a full month at all. That also came across as a shock for me and I was very surprised. I called him regularly and at some point, he told me to stop calling and suggested that he would call me himself since he was busy at the hospital. He promised to call when he had the chance. He didn't fail in his promise for the first 2 weeks. He called at least once a day and I inquired about his mother's health while he inquired about me and Eloise. 2 weeks ago, he said he wouldn't be able to call anymore because his mother had to go into surgery and he wanted to spend time in the hospital with her. He said he wouldn't be able to find time to call. I told him there was no need to worry and we decided to text ourselves once in a while. I texted him every evening and he answered once in a while. Just 2 days ago, I texted him but he didn't reply and I just thought he was busy. So, when I saw the divorce papers yesterday, I almost fell to the ground out of shock. My daughter just turned 1-year-old about a month ago and if not for her, I would have scattered the house. What is the meaning of all these? I'm asking myself if I'm in a bad dream because it honestly feels like one. Talk of a plot twist and funny situation, and this is the perfect example. Divorce papers suddenly just 1 month after our anniversary? We kissed goodbye and hugged each other for hours when we last saw each other, and that was just a month ago. Why is he suddenly divorcing me? For what? I was so confused that I had to sit down and shut down all my devices because I didn't want to be tempted to tell my parents. They will make Felix regret it. I don't want to jump into conclusions, and I don't want to tell anyone till I know for sure. I decided to share this on Reddit and ask you all what could be the possible reason for this. I'm seriously lost. I can't tell anyone close to me, so I hope that you guys can help me. I've been trying to reach out to Felix, but he's ignoring me and he hasn't returned any of my texts. I'm honestly very desperate and I don't know what next step to take. Your advice and guidance is very needed during this time. Update. I've never been this confused in my life, guys. Trust me when I tell you this because it's honestly the truth. I've never had to sit down this much and cry my eyes out. I didn't even worry this much when I found out I was pregnant about 2 years ago. I was worried, but it wasn't this bad. This has to be one of the worst periods of my life, and I'm not even trying to mince words. I sat down for days and cried my eyes out. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to leave and just go and see him back in our hometown, but I couldn't because I had to go to work so I could warm and provide. Felix had taken leave from work, so he wasn't earning at all. I had to earn and take care of the bills in the house. I'm still left in the dark, and even though many of you in the comments tried to cheer me up, it's still not easy to be left in the dark at all. I continued to call him day and night, but he's not picking. He's very wicked to do that to me, and I can't imagine why he would do that. What did I do to Felix, and why is he treating me this way? Does he think it's that easy to just stay idle without knowing what you did wrong after being served divorce papers? I don't know what to do, and Eloise has started asking questions. She wants to know why her daddy is no longer calling her and why her mommy is spending minutes crying. She's just a 1-year-old plus child and can't talk fluently or understand much, but she cries, and when I ask her what's wrong she calls her daddy's name or she tries to clean my face. I can't even focus on work, and it breaks my heart to get left in the dark. I keep asking myself each time and second, what did I do? What mistake did I make? Why is he divorcing me? I've asked, but absolutely nothing is giving me the answers I need. None of my questions have been answered, and more questions are even piling up. It's hard, and I've tried, but let's just see how it goes. I will not forgive Felix if I realize that he's doing all of this without a good reason. I will make him regret it if he's putting me through this because of something petty. I know what I have done for that man. I'm not even trying to talk about finances because we both have our own money. I'm trying to talk about how I supported him from the moment we started dating. We did our internship in the same state, and I had no problem inconveniencing myself for him. I would leave my apartment and visit him to make him food. I would take care of him when he was sick and dedicate time to making him feel better. I did all those things because I cared about him. I supported him even when my parents were ready to insult him and degrade him after they found out we had an affair. Even though he didn't really stand against his parents for me, I did that for him. I refused to listen to my mother and marry another man. She went as far as looking for a man that was easy to marry me even after I gave birth to Eloise. My mother brought lists of men that didn't care that I was a woman with another man's child. But I refused to marry all of them and promised Felix I'd always choose him no matter what. I told him I won't marry someone else, and I kept my promise. Even when he was transferred to another state instead of Arizona while we moved to Arizona, I still supported him till he was able to get transferred back. He's a nurse and he works a lot. I don't give him a hard time. I'm a management analyst and I work a lot too, yet I still try to take care of our baby. I never complained. Not once. So, why does he think he has the audacity to send me divorce papers after 1 month of going away? How do you spend a whole month away from your family and then your wife wakes up to see divorce papers under the door? It has to be a prank. That's the lie I want to tell myself. I want to believe that even though those divorce pairs look professional and have appropriate titles, it's still a prank. I'll fake it till I believe it, because if I find out the truth, all hell will break loose and not even Felix would be free from my wrath. I'll be going to see my parents in 1 week if I realize that Felix still continues to ignore me. I'll go and let Felix know what an angry woman can do when you slip divorce papers under the door. Update 2. I've always heard the saying that wonders shall never really end, and right now, I believe that's true. I don't think the wonders I've experienced plan on ending anytime soon. Before I go on, I want to thank every single person that has dedicated their time to my story. Thank you all for your words of encouragement, and thank you for not putting me down. I appreciate it a lot, guys. Now, moving on, I'll let you guys know exactly what has been happening and how I've been trying my best to deal with all of it. Even after my efforts to reach out to Felix, none of it worked. It seemed like he blocked me, so I packed my bags 1 week later and left Arizona. I didn't call his sister or father in advance. In fact, I didn't even call my own parents in advance. I didn't want anyone to expect my presence. I didn't want Felix to hear about it in case he would run away. I wanted to catch him red-handed, then pour out all my anger. I know that his mother is out of the hospital, yet he refused to let me know. He just decided to stay back there and keep me in the dark. Maybe he thinks that just because he could easily get me pregnant, he could easily divorce me too. I'll be glad to let him know that I do not plan on making the same mistake twice at all. The only way I was able to know that his mother had been released from the hospital was through my parents. They weren't even aware that Felix had not been with me. It was only after they spotted him recently that they called me and asked me why I didn't accompany him back. I didn't tell them about the divorce. I just told them that I had been occupied with work, and that was why I just decided to stay home and get myself back together. My parents understood my plight, and they didn't try asking more questions after that. But I didn't let them know that I planned on coming. I wanted them to stay in the dark so they won't be able to notify Felix ahead of time by mistake. I came here 1 week ago, and it's been drama upon drama. I knew that this was going to be messy, but I never imagined that it would be as messy as it currently is. I told myself that I needed to set things right, but right now, it seems like my parents would be more than enough help for me. When my parents spotted me and Eloise at the front door, they were very shocked. They practically dragged me in and started searching for bruises. My mother even went as far as asking me if I had bruises. I'd not been home in a very long time, so they just imagined that if I suddenly showed up, there had to be something wrong. I assured them that I was fine and I needed to freshen up. Yes, guys, I had to have a long bath. My parents were swooning over their granddaughter while I rushed to my old room to freshen up. Some of my old clothes were still neatly kept in my closet, so I didn't need to unpack immediately. I just got dressed and joined my parents in the living room. They asked me if everything was fine once again, and I assured them that I was fine. We ate dinner together, and my parents, Eloise, and I all slept on the very big mattress in their room. I'm their only child, so I know how much it hurt them for me to just leave to another state like that. They never imagined that I'd get married that fast and just leave them alone. That's the reason why Felix had to be mad to think he could just discard me after I'd sacrificed so much just to get with him. I'd lost a lot for him, and I couldn't just forget it out of nowhere. After bathing myself and Eloise the next morning, I asked my parents to watch over her while I left for Felix's parents' house. Immediately I got to the front door, I could hear how his sister practically panicked when she saw me from the window. Our eyes met and she ran to God knows where. I don't know why she took so long to open the door. Even while she tried greeting me and asking unnecessary questions like, "Why are you suddenly here? What happened?" I ignored her and asked where Felix was. She tried lying to me and telling me he wasn't around, but I knew that the fact that she had spent almost 5 minutes before opening the door meant that she went to notify him of my presence. I went straight to Felix's room because I'd been there before and I knew where his room was located. His sister tried to stop me, but I pushed her away and made sure I pulled on the door as hard as I could. It was locked from the inside, but I didn't give up. "I give you 2 minutes to unlock this door, or else I promise you that I'll grab my father's hunt gun and blow up your door." Those were my exact words to Felix. He unlocked the door immediately after I said that because he was aware that my father really had a gun he used for hunting. Immediately I set my eyes on Felix, my hands just hit his face. I didn't plan on doing it, it just happened. I was so angry and that was my only way of venting. I'd not seen him in almost 2 months and the fact that he looked so healthy and normal while even my parents suggested that I lost weight made me very angry. Felix got very angry and if not for his sister that intervened he almost hit me back. I was not proud of the fact that I hit him but I will not take it back. If a man could leave his wife and child like that then he deserved whatever came for him. I asked his sister to give us space to talk because I still had a lot that I wanted to say to him. She hesitated at first, but one stern look that I gave her was enough to make her run away. Felix looked like he didn't want to have a conversation with me, but I didn't care. I went into his room and then I sat down with my hands crossed. I picked the door before sitting down because I knew that there was every possibility of his parents trying to cut short the conversation. Especially his mother. "You sent me divorce papers, why?" Those were the first words I said to him and I did it as calmly as possible. I didn't trust what would have come out of my mouth if I just said everything that I had in mind. I expected him to laugh and say it was a prank. I expected him to apologize and say he was drunk. I just wanted to hear anything except what he said because what he said broke my heart to pieces. "I sent you divorce papers because I found out that Eloise isn't my daughter." Yes, guys, Felix had the audacity to open his mouth and tell me that. I swear that if not for the possibility of alerting his parents and causing a scene, I would have preferred to fight it off with him so we both could know that he's more powerful. I would have preferred getting beaten up because that shake would hurt less. How could Felix accuse me of cheating on him? That's what he did. By saying that Eloise isn't his daughter, he meant that I cheated on him and got pregnant for another person. He went too far. There's nothing anyone would say to me that would change my mind. That man went too far. I asked him what gave him the audacity to accuse me of doing that and he said he had proof. I got so angry that I cursed him out with all the strength in me. I asked him to show the proof and he said his mother told him that I had a lover in Florida before I met him and that he was one of the men that were ready to marry me after I got pregnant. He also told me that his mother told him that the same man that was suspected to be Eloise's father came to tell her the truth himself. Wow, just wow. That was the only thing I said to the fool I called my husband. His mother? The same woman that wanted to make sure we didn't get married? He wanted to take her word over mine? I didn't even stay back to listen to him. I ran out of the room and barged into his parents' room without knocking. You guys won't believe that the woman that caused havoc in my marriage was sitting pretty on her bed watching a movie like the queen she thought she was. I don't know why my parents didn't live in the ghetto. If I had that sort of training, I would have cared less if I showed that woman the level of anger I had in me. I asked her why she would tell her son I cheated on him and pinned another pregnancy on him. The first thing she could say to me was ask me why I didn't knock on the door before entering. I ignored her, then asked her the same question I asked in the beginning. She didn't expect me to be as angry as I was and that scared her a lot. She didn't know what to do at the end of the day, so she stood up and told me she had proof for saying what she said. I could tell from the way she stood confidently that she had regained her strength and she was well again. I guess that she'd been healthy for a long time, 'cause that's the only way she'd have time to spread rumors. She said she met up with the real father of Eloise after she did her own investigation. I don't want to get into details and recount everything she did because the more I think about it, the angrier I actually become. I don't want to continue digging my nails into my palms because my parents will only get more upset. That woman told me that after Felix sent her Eloise's 6 months pictures, she realized that Eloise looked nothing like Felix and that she only looked like me. That made her suspicious and fueled the doubts she had in her mind before, so she decided to dig into my past and ask questions, and that's when she remembered the man that had visited my house asking to marry me. She said she went in search of him and realized that he was the real father of the child. Even though I'd been upset, I had to laugh because everything was truly laughable. The fact that Het's story and Felix's story didn't match was funny. Felix said his mother told him that the real father of Eloise can't see her himself, and then his mother said she went to meet him. First of all, I pointed out the fact that both their stories made no sense. After doing that, I looked Felix in the eye and called him a fool. The fact that he ghosted me for 2 months and cut off all communication with his daughter just because of a stupid conspiracy theory his mother who despises my family cake up with Judy showed me that I married the wrong man. I couldn't believe that Felix put me through all that just because he trusted his mother's words over mine. 2 months. I'd spent 2 months crying my eyes away and asking myself what I did wrong. Me? Lied about my daughter's father? How? The guy they are talking about was my ex-boyfriend and we dated in college. My mother is very familiar with him and he's the same guy that helped my father when he almost got robbed of his car. Since that day, my father has become very fond of him. Even after we broke up, he still came to the house once in a while. While I was in Florida and was dating Felix, we met up for coffee one day because he was there for work and wanted to see me. My parents were not aware I was dating Felix then and they still believed I'd get back with the guy. His name is Leo. They encouraged Leo to take me out for shopping and lunch. He did so for 1 week and I didn't refuse because he was and still is a very good friend of mine. He knew I was dating Felix and there were boundaries. He even had a girlfriend at that time and she accompanied him to see me. His girlfriend at that time was my old high school classmate, so we had fun together. When I got pregnant, my mother reached out to as many people as she could hoping to find a match other than Felix. I'd asked her not to because it was embarrassing, but she refused to listen and she did as she wished. Leo was single back then and when I gave birth, he told me he was ready to marry me and that he didn't care if I had a child. I already told you guys I had a lot of people ready to marry me earlier, right? Now, I don't want to sound condescending to Felix, but I'll still say this because I said it to him that same day. Leo is a crypto trader that earns a lot daily. He's very smart in that aspect and he even holds several awards. So I had to ask Felix that if Leo is truly the father of Eloise and he asked to marry me, why would I refuse? Why would I pin the pregnancy on him? Leo earns way more than Felix does, so what reason do I have to make Felix the father? If I cheated on him with Leo, why would I go for Felix? What does Felix have to offer that Leo doesn't? I went for my father's child and I went for the man I actually loved. I told Felix that the only reason I married him was because I loved him and wanted to be with him. I also wanted to make sure my child grew up with her father. Felix and his mother still tried accusing me of lying, but I left the house. I went home and told my parents all about what happened. I told them I want a DNA test conducted in 4 different hospitals and immediately after the results are out, I'll sign the divorce papers and divorce Felix. That was 2 days ago. I cried my eyes out for hours because I was embarrassed and hurt that my own husband questioned my character. My parents were very angry and they went to see Felix and his parents. I didn't stop them. Not even when I heard the loud arguments that disturbed the whole neighborhood. I have every right to be angry and so do my parents. I requested 2 hospitals of Felix and his family's choice and then 2 hospitals from my family's choice. I'm ready to prove them wrong because never in my life did I think I'll be conducting a DNA test. Update 3. What's that saying again? Oh, I now remember. He who laughs last, laughs best. I had my bad days, but now I'm smiling. The fans tests were conducted 6 months ago and the results all came out and proved me right. The hospitals from Felix's side said he was the father and the hospitals from my side said he was also the father. Immediately after the results proved me innocent, I signed the divorce papers. Felix tried to beg me and ask for forgiveness, but nothing he said changed my mind. He went too far and that broke our marriage. If he couldn't trust me, then N couldn't trust him too. If he could ghost me for 2 months and slide divorce papers under the door 1 month after our 1-year anniversary and 1 month after he left the house, then he could do anything in the future. I'd seen hell in just 1 year of our marriage. I didn't want to know what my future with him looked like. His mother tried playing those mind games by kneeling and thinking I'll be like, "Oh no. Please stand up. It's fine." My parents chased her, Felix, his sister and his father out. For 1 month while I worried away myself, they planned to disgrace me and watched Felix try to divorce me. He wanted a divorce and he got it. Now he's the one paying for child support. The fact that he couldn't call me or come have a conversation with me but had the time to file for divorce without my knowledge is funny. He wanted to be the alpha husband who served his wife divorce papers, but he ended up being the fool who got the shock of his life. My parents helped me work back my transfer and I'm back to living with them. Eloise has started school. Since Felix is a nurse, he can't really work his transfer as normally as I can do. He can't get transferred from Arizona yet. He can't travel back and forth, so he can only see Eloise once in a while, and that's how I want it. My mom is still trying to play matchmaker between me and Leo, but this time, I think I might just end up getting back with him. If he could wait for me for years and even stay persistent, I'm sure he's the husband I should have had. Oh, and newsflash, his mother lied. She didn't speak to Leo at all and he confirmed that himself. She just let her group of friends put things into her head because Eloise looked exactly like me. One of her friends is also the mother of Leo's ex-girlfriend who accompanied him to come see me. She's the one that told her Leo had taken me shopping sometimes. That's what made her lie. I'm glad I shared this worst experience of mine with you all. Felix went too far and I just couldn't deal with that anymore. I'm back where I really belong. I'm in Arizona with my parents and my child. I might also be where my boyfriend is. I'm not ready for a relationship yet, but I know it's only a matter of time before Leo makes me swoon. It's been 6 months, guys, I'm ready.